one asks himself, why am I here? Why am I created? What's the whole point? Why did I come down to this world? To live for 60 years, for 70 years, and then to move on? It doesn't even make sense. So when one asks himself this question over and over, so one can say, okay, I came here to fulfill mitzvahs, to do mitzvahs and to learn Torah. What the Midrash calls dira b'tachtonim. Because when this question was aroused in the Midrash, why did Hashem create the world? The answer that the Midrash gave, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא להיות לו דירה בתחתונים. הקדוש ברוך הוא had this urge to have a dwelling place in the lower realm, in the lower world, in the physical world. Therefore, he created this world, he gave us the Torah, and with the Torah and mitzvahs, we create him what's called a Mishkan. ועשיתם לי משכן, ושכנתי בתוכם. Hashem wants us to make him a dwelling place by us following the Torah and mitzvahs, and we make for Hashem a place to dwell. And if I make my body a Mishkan, my mind is a Mishkan, my home is a Mishkan. Mishkan is a Makom Kadosh, a holy place, and Hashem can dwell in my Mishkan. And if my mind is not holy, then Hashem cannot dwell in my mind. And if my emotions are not holy, if my body is not holy, my house, my Mishkan can be many things. My business can be a Mishkan. My point is to make my Mishkan holy, and by then Hashem dwells in me. ועשיתם לי מקדש ושכנתי בתוכם. So my entire avodah in this world is to build this Mishkan. And when the verse is said, "Banitem li mikdash v'shachanti betocham," there's a question, why betocham? Because betocham is plural, it should be betocho. So the Torah instructs us, and when the Jews went to Eretz Mitzrayim, Kadosh Baruch Hu told the Jews, "V'asitem li mikdash v'shachanti betocham." This is the basics of why we're here. When it says betocham, betocham means plural. Should have said betocho, in it. So the Midrash answers betocham, in each and every one of them. Each and every one of us can be a mikdash. Comes the Exile and he says you have to read the word, you have to break the word into two. Betoch mem. That's how you have to read it. Betoch mem means that we have to be inside a mem. It's talking about a mem sofit, what's called a mem stuma. It's like a square. Mem stuma means that it doesn't have any opening, nothing can go in. The world was created with the letter bet. Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. The bet, if you look at it, it has one wall that is open. Meaning that this wall is open, it's called the Ruach HaTzfonit. It's the northern part, and through there comes in the Yetzer Hara. That's why one of the many names that the Yetzer Hara has is called Tzfoni. So the world was created in a way that one of the sides is open, that through that the Yetzer Hara can go in. This is called Ruach Tzfonit. When it says, "V'asitem li mikdash v'shachanti betocham," betoch mem, means that we have to close the Ruach HaTzfonit, and then I have a Mishkan, meaning that nothing can come in, and my camp is holy. That's what it means, "V'asitem li mikdash v'shachanti betocham," not necessarily in each and every one of you, rather betoch mem, which means that the mikdash is only when the mem is closed. This is the ultimate level one wants to reach. This is what's called geula. The opposite of that is galut, exile. Exile is not necessarily living in New York. Exile means that I'm disconnected from my source. That there's some type of a leak, that something can come into my mishkan, and to make it impure. That's why we see that the same letter of Mishkan and the Mem Sofit, same letter of Mashiach. Mashiach means the ultimate Geula that seals the Mishkan. That there's not going to be any more impurity. That's what Mashiach does. That's the ultimate Geula, redemption. So our job in this world is to build a Mishkan. How do we build it? With Torah and mitzvahs. Torah tells us what to do, what not to do, what we have to be afraid of, not to chas v'shalom go against the Torah. But the Torah instructs us what to do. So one might say, okay, I came down to this world to learn Torah and to follow mitzvahs and to do what Hashem told me, and by that I'm building a Mishkan, And that's how Hashem can dwell in me, and I'm fulfilling the Ratzon HaElyon, the ultimate will of Hashem. But that's not the entire thing why I came down to this world. That's true, I have to build a Mishkan, that's the main thing I have to focus on. But I mentioned last shiur, that the Talmud of the Arizal, Rabbi Chaim Vital, he says that yes, the doing the mitzvahs and learning Torah is vital. You have to do it. It's like air and food to your neshama. The same way that you're not going to deprive your body from food and from air, then that way you shouldn't deprive your neshama from food and air, Torah and mitzvahs. And if chas v'shalom you decide to deprive your body from food, so the first couple hours you're fine. And then after a couple of hours you start getting hungry. And then you start getting a stomachache. And then you start feeling nauseous. And then you start feeling tired, etc., etc. And at some point your body cracks down. Same thing with the neshama. If you don't provide the neshama what it needs, which is Torah and mitzvahs, then at some point it will start deteriorating to a point that it will start bothering you. So people think that when the neshama is bothering them by them being depressed or having anxieties or fear or whatever they go through, they try to tag it to something else. It's the environment, it's my parents, it's my job, it's my wife. It's just trying to look for excuses why I'm feeling how I'm feeling, the emotions that I'm going through. But be'etzem is my neshama is hungry and thirsty. It's not getting what it needs. So first thing then I have to make an analysis when something is going on in my life, especially emotionally, because I told you there are different levels how the neshama operates. And the middle level is called the regashot, emotions. This is how I'm functioning. I'm functioning on emotions. This comes from my nefesh habehemit. Because above the nefesh habehemit, the neshama doesn't work on emotions. It's the nefesh that is working on emotions. So when something happens to me, if I'm upset or tired or lazy or depressed or angry, then I will always try to find the cause for that. The point is that in essence, in a spiritual level, the neshama is just lacking something. In most cases, it will be lacking Torah and mitzvahs. That it will manifest into the neshama. The neshama will have a deficiency, and it will manifest into the body. Either in a sickness, either in a certain emotion that I have, and in most cases will be a negative emotion. So the point is that my main avodah in this world is to correct and to fix my midot, my attributes. I explained last shiur is that it's broken into two groups. The first one is called midah, which is my attribute. And a midah in Hebrew can also be a measurement. And the next thing is my ofi, my character. Now my character I can't change. Whatever I was born with, that's what Hashem gave me. And my character comes from the etzem of my neshama. There's a reason why I have my character how it is. And one cannot change their character. And anyone who tries to change their character will just waste his time. And the problem starts, it's not when I try to change my character, it's when I try to change somebody else's character. Like my wife, or my kids. In a lot of relationships, the husband and wife, they're trying to, they think they can change the character of their other half, or especially the kids. That's where relationships with parents and children start getting messed up, because the parents think they can change the character of the child. Instead of accepting that this is the character, now I can take the midot, I can take the attributes, and with the right measurement, I can work on the character. And I can empower the character, or I can keep it down a little bit. So if you take, for example, the midah of chesed, you can take the chesed, which is limitless giving, and you can use it to a very negative way. By giving yourself the permission or the free hand to do something in a very exaggerated way. So for one example, would be using drugs. So a person can chas v'shalom use drugs but in a moderated way, and a person can use drugs in a very exaggerated way, drinking alcohol, whatever. So the midah of chesed would allow that if a person has a lot of that midah, the midah is what's called behitgabrut, it's empowered, then anything that he will do will be with no limits. Will be too much. So it's fine to drink a cup of wine on Erev Shabbat, but not 2 bottles. So if a person has a very empowered midah of the chesed, everything will be without gvulot, without limits. Now comes the midah of gvura, and to start stopping it, to know when to put my limit. How can I reduce this no limit for my midah? So the point is that my main avodah in this world is to work on my midot, is to refine my attributes. And in order to do that, I first of all have to find out what I need to do. And Bechlal, our entire life is surrounded about this topic. The point is that most people, they don't even know that that's what they have to do, so they're chasing after their own tail by trying to figure out what they need to do. And even people who do follow the Torah and mitzvahs, so they say, okay, my main thing is to follow Torah and mitzvahs, and everything else is just the problems of my environment. But in essence, everything that I do, I project something out to the world with my actions, with my thoughts, with my speech, and this projects back right at me. So if I project a lot of kindness into the world, the reaction I'm going to get is kindness too. Where is it going to project from? From the people that I'm projecting it on, and from my surroundings. So if I do a lot of chesed, a lot of charity, a lot of acts of kindness, everything that I do will come b'chesed. So my parnasa will come, my livelihood will come b'chesed. My relationships will come with a lot of chesed, kindness. If I deal with the world with a lot of severity, then the reaction that I'm going to get back, what's going to bounce back at me is this severity. So everything ultimately that I do will boomerang right back at me. Now the point is that one needs to know, she needs to reach to their essence and find out, okay, what is driving me? What is moving me? Because all day long, I have something that is moving me, driving me inside. So one will say it's my thoughts, one will say it's my emotions. But the reality is that something is constantly moving us. So I explained last shiur that everything in this world corresponds to the 10 sfirot. And the highest sfira is called Keter. I explained already last shiur the structure. The highest sfira is called Keter. Keter is a crown, like something that is sitting on the head, what's called in Hebrew atara. A crown, it surrounds the head. There's what's called chitzoniyut keter and pnimiyut keter. We're mainly going to concentrate now on chitzoniyut keter, the external part of the keter. But everything originates over there. And from the keter starts coming down, and the first level that comes down after the keter is called ratzon. The keter has everything in it. But first comes the ratzon. Ratzon is a desire, is a will. So if you go back in anything that you do, you're always going to find that what started is the ratzon. You want something. You desire it. So if I want to get a nice car, then I have to say, okay, how do I get a nice car? I need a lot of money. How do I get a lot of money? I need a good job. How do I get a good job? I need to go and learn a certain trade. And if you backtrack, you see that ultimately the end result originates in your ratzon. From the ratzon, that already builds from it what's called ta'anug, is desire, is pleasure, and after that will come emunah. So I have to always go back to the original and to find out what's the ratzon. Now, the problem is that most people, when they analyze it, they reach to their own ratzon. Ratzon is the desire, is the will to do something. If I'm operating on my own desire, I'll never get anywhere. Because my desire is what I want, and what I want is the shortcut, the short version. Don't give me the hard way. Give me what's the shortest way to get there. That's what I want. And ultimately, what do I want? We're all running after one thing, is called ta'anug, pleasure. And the pleasure can be explained in many ways. I want to sleep all day long in bed because it gives me pleasure to be lazy and do nothing. I want to eat because the food gives me pleasure. I want to see a movie because the movie gives me pleasure. Whatever. Ultimately, we're running after pleasures. So when I run after my pleasure, which is usually a physical pleasure, very few people are searching for spiritual pleasure. Usually I run after a physical pleasure, then I will look for the shortcuts how to get it. But ultimately, if I want to operate on the right way, I have to see what's the Ratzon of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. What is the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem? This is called Ratzon HaElyon. And when I reach to that level that I understand what's the will of Hashem, from there I have to start bringing it down to start working on it. So my main avodah is to work on my midot. Now, I can have good midot and I can have bad midot. Almost each midah can be looked at as something very positive and can also looked at something very negative. The problem is that a lot of people, they take one attribute, one midah, and they make it look very positive, but it's coming from their ratzon. It's not coming from the ratzon of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. But they're in their mind dissecting it and distorting it to a point that, it's good to do this. But it's not good to do this. If I want to know what's good or bad or what's exactly the will of Hashem, then that's where Hashem gave me the Torah. He gave me a manual to see what is bemet good. Is doing this is good or is doing this is good? So the point is that we constantly have this job that we have to do. And originally what moves us is constantly thoughts. Our thoughts are constantly running in our mind, and if we would meditate 1 second on our thoughts, we will see what a mess is going on up there. The Rebbe from Piasetzna, a very holy rabbi that was murdered in the Holocaust, he, in one of his books, is giving a meditation process that you concentrate on your thoughts. And what you do is you obviously you have to, close the door, close your phone, disconnect yourself from the reality for a couple of minutes. But the meditation is not to control the thoughts, rather to look at your thoughts. So you remove all the distractions you have, so you can concentrate on your thoughts. Now if you do that, this is what's called hashkata. Hashkata means to mute your thoughts, mute the system up there. And if you're just viewing your thoughts like you're looking at a movie, you would see that you have a zoo in your head. Like a whole mess is going on in your head. Every 3-4 seconds a thought is being thrown into your head. Some are good, some are bad, some are weird. If you analyze all your thoughts, you'll see that half the things that's going on in your mind is like crazy. The only thing that separates us from a crazy person is that the crazy person actually does what he's thinking. We control our thoughts. But if you meditate on that, you'll see all the things that you're thinking of other people, and what you would want to say to other people, and what you would want to do in a certain situation. You just hold yourself in 90% of the situation not to do it. So that's what separates us from crazy people. They just do what they say what they want, they do what they want. But the reality is that we all have some type of a meshuga in our mind, a crazy person. Why? Because everything that is being drawn from the source, from the ratzon, is brought down into machshava, into thought. The ratzon is also called like a well, a be'er. That's where it originates from. The Baal Shem Tov explains that there are 2 chambers in Shamayim, a chamber of purity and a chamber of impurity. Any pure thought, speech, or action that comes into me comes from a chamber of purity. Heichalot Kedusha. Every impure thought, speech, and action that comes to me comes from a chamber of impurity. It's not even my thought. I allowed this channel to go through me. With my act, I said Lashon Hara, I opened a channel that this chamber of impurity will start dripping into my system impurity. So my thoughts will become impure and my mouth will become impure. My mouth, I mean my speech, my action will become impure. It's not necessarily coming from me. I chas v'shalom steal, I open a channel. I cheat, I open a channel where this impurity comes to me. On the other hand, I do a mitzvah, then I open a channel where the purity comes into my thoughts, speech, and action. So I can control where I'm getting the hashpa'ah, the influence from the world above me. I'm sorry I'm stopping, it's very bad to sit like this. It is connected to our shiur because our right hand is chesed and our left hand is gvura. There's a certain flow of the energy in our body, like the circulation of the blood. The circulation of the blood, there's a reason why the body is built a certain way, because the blood is circulating in a certain way. But also the energy coming from our midot are circling in a certain way. When you connect the gvura and the chesed, it makes a short circuit in the cycle.
It's
not good to sit like this.
No, but I understand it's not good to sit like that, but why is it bad for the chesed and the gvura to connect? I would think it's good.
Because when it's down inside a body, it has no way to connect to each other. It can only connect in their essence. Here, what it does, the flow, maybe we'll do a shiur about that, but... Excuse me? That's a totally different thing. But, anyways, we got sidetracked, but I had to... So that's the thing, it's coming not from a natural place. A lot of our movements are not coming from a natural place. That's why a lot of the movements that we do, if you analyze how you're moving yourself, you'll see that you move yourself sometimes very weird. Sometimes, I'm not joking, put a camera on you and you'll see that a lot of your movements, you do a lot of movements that are not voluntary, like you don't even notice what you do. Sometimes you play with your hair, you scratch your face, people pick their nose. It's all sorts of movements where they're coming from. Okay, so doctor will tell you it's instincts or whatever, but there's an explanation where these movements are coming from. People cross their legs a certain way, they sit in a certain way. Sometimes you don't even notice. You can talk to a person and your head goes like that. So there's reasons for all that, but I don't want to sidetrack from our topic.
Wait, so how are you supposed to say you're always doing something?
That's being focused. No, that's being focused on yourself all day long. And when a person is focused on himself all day long, he carries himself in a certain way. We're going to get to that in one of our shiurim, because what I'm telling you now with the whole concept of the thought, everything originates from my thought. My entire action comes from the thought. This is what's called in Hebrew tolada. My thought, kiviyachol, gives birth to my emotions and to my speech and so forth. So I want to constantly control my thoughts. If my thoughts are very focused and sharp, then my entire interaction with the world is completely different. That's one of the many reasons why we eat kosher. Because anything that is not kosher, the Exile says, metamtem et hasechel. Metamtem doesn't come from the word timtum, to be, chas v'shalom, excuse my language, stupid. Timtum means unbalanced, and something is not balanced. The entire basic teachings of Kabbalah is that my life has to be balanced, has to be izun. That's why if you see the structure of the sfirot, there's a right, there's a left, and there's a middle. The higher sfira keter is in the middle, and the lower sfira palchut is in the middle. My entire system needs to be constantly balanced. If my system is not balanced, the result is that I'm off balance. I'm too much to the right, too much to the left. And in most cases, our thoughts are not balanced. That's why we have this mess in our mind. That's why it's a very powerful thing to do every day, is to do what's called hitbodedut. Hitbodedut means to isolate myself from the world. Bidud. Some people go to a forest, some people go to a field, some people close the door. But the point of hitbodedut is that I mevodedet haneshama, I isolate my soul from all the distractions. No phone, no music, no people around me, nothing. I'm isolating my neshama, and then I can start contacting my neshama. We're going to talk about it in one of the shiurim now about the Tikun Hamidot, because the only way to fix my midot is through tefillah, through prayer, and hitbodedut. Because if I want to know what's the Ratzon HaElyon, what Hashem wants, only my neshama will tell me. Nobody else will tell me. I can go to the biggest rabbi in Israel. He will not tell me what's the Ratzon HaElyon. The only way that I can connect with my source to know what am I supposed to do here is to let my neshama talk. If I don't connect myself to my neshama, I will never know what I need to do here, and my life is going to be chaos. And the problem is that most of people's lives, they can be very frum, but their life is chaos. Relationships don't work. They don't know how to deal with relationships. There's nothing wrong with them, and there's nothing wrong with the other person. They just don't know how to make bridges between people. Their business doesn't work. Nothing works. So the result from that is a disastrous relationship in the home. Problems with parnasah, with livelihood, because the person is not focused. Doesn't know how to control his emotion, doesn't know how to control her thoughts. And again, it's not contradicting with being religious. A person can be 100% religious and still live and have an entire mess in his life. And that person will come and blame everything. The Shlom Bayit, my wife, she's wrong. The chinuch of the kids, they're crazy, they're wild, they have ADD, they have this, they have that. They'll pull all the excuses. The business is not working, the partner is stealing, this is not good, the economy. No. It's just that the person himself, he has a zoo, a gan chayot, he has a mess in his mind, doesn't know how to control anything. By default, it will manifest into the world. The point is that a person needs to know what Hashem wants from him. When you wake up in the morning, you have to ask Hashem, what do you want for me to do today? What's my job today? The only way for me to connect with my source is only through Hidbodedut and Tefillah. And Tefillah can be opening the Siddur and reading what it says in the Siddur. And Tefillah is also taking 2-3 minutes and talking to Hashem. Thanking Hashem. We're going to talk about the negative midot, but we're also going to talk about a few of the positive midot, which are one of them, and the most important one is what's called hoda'ah, thanking. The midah of constantly being appreciative and thanking. That we don't really empower in us. If a person is not thanking Hashem 50 times a day, then he's not empowering this midah. And we say Baruch Hashem every 2 minutes, but we don't really mean it. We don't really mean Baruch Hashem, thank you so much. If a person is saved from a car accident, his Baruch Hashem is a real Baruch Hashem. But when somebody tells you, how are you? Baruch Hashem. It just comes out automatically from your mouth. So one needs to reach to his essence and know what he needs to fix. If a person lives his life in that way, your life is going to be very peaceful and very successful. You're going to have a good relationship with your husband. You're going to have a good relationship with your kids. You're going to have a good relationship with everybody around you, because you're going to know how to control the midah of jealousy, the midah of anger, the midah of patience. So when you know how to control all these midot, you're not going to have any issues with other people. You're not going to judge them by thinking, he's doing this to me. So the point is that one needs to know how to reach to their essence in order to fix and to work on their midot, in order for me to function in this world in a very healthy way. So in order for me to reach to that level, I have to reach to the Ratzon HaElyon. That can only be done with praying and Hitbonenut. And Hitbodedut, I'm sorry. Hitbonenut is already meditating on the greatness of Hashem. That's a different thing. But mainly one needs to do Hitbodedut. And you do it you can do it a few minutes, 5 minutes a day. Better to do even half an hour a day, but we don't have time. Our generation there's no time in our generation. We're all very, very busy. This is the problem of our generation. Too much to do. There's no time for nothing. When they came to the Rebbe from Kotz, they told him, we have great news. They built a train. They invented a train. So they told him, what's a train? They told him it's this metal machine that runs on a track, and instead of a week to come from point A to point B, it takes you 3 hours. So he answers, so what are they going to do with all the free time when they get there? If you have time to waste, it's going to be wasted. It doesn't matter where it's going to be. What are you going to do? It's going to be wasted. So this is what's called hevel. If a person is busy with hevel, with nonsense, doesn't matter how fast he's going to get there, or how fast things are going to get done, he's still going to waste his time on hevel, on shtuyot. Nonsense. The point is that our generation is the generation of technology, so everything is quick. If you can't send an email within 3.5 seconds, you get upset. In my generation, it took a need to send an email 10 minutes. So the point is that one needs to find time every day. You find time to eat, you find time to do whatever you want to do. You should find time to pray, and you find time to do itbodedut. And itbodedut means to isolate yourself from the world, and you isolate your neshama, and you start talking to Hashem, you start talking to yourself, and you let your neshama talk to you. And then your neshama is going to start telling you what you need to do. From that level of ratzon will come down what's called ta'anug, because always I'm going to run after some type of a pleasure. I just need to know what's the pleasure that I want to run after. And to see the difference between the real ta'anug and the fake ta'anug, the real pleasure and the fake pleasure. And that will be driven by what's called emunah, belief. If I want to go to the right place, I have to empower my emunah. Now, we basically we have what's called kochot hanefesh, the powers of our nefesh. So we operate from these powers. So the highest power, we said it's ratzon. Then after that comes machshava, thought. But after that will come my emotions. And I totally operate on my emotions. If you're looking, we have 3 levels in our existence. The lowest level is called guf, body. This is what's called met, because the body itself, met is dead. Our body is dead basically. Without the neshama, the body is worthless. Take the neshama out of the body is dead. This is what's called guf. This is our vehicle. But then we have a nefesh. Nefesh is a mediate, in between the spiritual and the physical, and then we have the neshama. So the neshama is operating on a much higher level, but the nefesh is what we're operating in this world. This is what's called the nefesh ha-be'emit. And anything that is alive has a nefesh ha-be'emit. Also animals has a nefesh ha-be'emit. Everything in the world has a nefesh. A nefesh is this godly power that enlivens the world. Even inanimates, they have a nefesh. Trees have a nefesh. Animals, everything has a nefesh. Different levels. So animals and human beings, they have what's called a nefesh ha-be'emit. A tree will have a nefesh hatzomeach, a nefesh that has the power of growth. But even inanimates has a nefesh. This is the godly energy that enlivens the world. What enlivens me is the nefesh ha-be'emit. And the character of the nefesh ha-be'emit is exactly how it sounds. Be'emit comes from the word behema, an animal. So the nefesh ha-be'emit wants to eat and sleep and enjoy physical pleasures, everything that has to do with this world. And in that level, the nefesh is operating, I told you last shiur, on 4 elements. The element of fire, water, air, and afar, and earth. And all my emotions are operating in that level. And my emotions are controlled by these 4 elements. When I know to recognize which element is right now controlling my emotion, that I can actually control the element and either add to it or reduce from it. So the element of fire will cause me to be angry and to be upset, and all the emotions that will cause me the emotion of going up. Like getting upset, you get upset, then you get more upset, then you get more upset. The element of earth is heaviness and sadness and depression and laziness and all these heavy emotions that brings me down. So I need to understand that I'm operating on the level of nefesh. And that corresponds to my emotions. And my emotions can be love and happiness and sadness. Everything I need to recognize through my emotions. Now, once I understood, when I reach to that level, then I can start operating. Now again, the reason why I want to do it, besides the fact that that's what I came to do here, because I have a holy neshama. My neshama is holy, there's nothing wrong with it. We say every morning, Elokai neshama shenatata bi tehorai, my soul is perfect, it's pure. We mentioned it last shiur that my soul cannot get damaged. My soul can get dirt on it, but it cannot be damaged. Bechlal, how we're functioning in this world, the soul gets dressed in garments. So the soul is even protected with those garments. We know 3 major type of garments: thought, speech, and action. And if chas v'shalom I do a sin, or the opposite of God's will, the damage goes on the garment. The damage doesn't go necessarily on the soul. And if it does, it just goes as a stain that can be washed off. If a person does tshuva in this world, he washes off the stain. If he doesn't do tshuva in this world, they take him to the heavenly dry cleaning and they wash it off. And if it's a severe sin, then the impression on the soul is very, very deep, and to remove it takes a lot of work. So in this world, a person will go through yesurim, suffering, because it's the pain of getting the dirt out of the soul. And if a chas v'shalom person has to go through it in Shamayim, then the yisurim, the suffering, will be 1,000 times more, because it's already spiritual. That's why it's much better to fix everything here. But in essence, the soul does not get damaged, because it's dressed into garments. The same way in the physical world, if my suit is dirty, I take it off, I put it in the dry cleaner, and then I get the suit back, and the suit is clean. The essence doesn't get damaged. But my neshama is so holy that it had to get dressed into my ruach and into my nefesh. And through the nefesh elokit, my nefesh elokit is interacting with the nefesh habehemit. The nefesh habehemit is the ambassador. It's the mediate between the spiritual and the physical. We know that the nefesh is in our blood. This is where the nefesh is dwelling. We learn it from the pasuk in the Torah, ki ha-nefesh hu hadam. And the nefesh gets dressed in the entire body. If you take a needle and you poke any point in your body, the blood will come out. That's where you know that the nefesh is everywhere. Even the corner of your finger. Poke it with a needle, blood will come out. Any place in the body. The neshama doesn't go in through the entire body. The neshama goes into the body, but it doesn't go into the hands, and it doesn't go into the feet. That's why when we wake up in the morning and there's a lot of impurity on our hands, the netilat yadayim, the negel also that we do, is still our risks. Because when the neshama goes in, it pushes off all the impurity till the hands, but then the neshama is not in the hand, only the nefesh. So the nefesh is in our entire body. So the first thing I need to do in order for me to completely relax the whole system is what I said before, is our kosher diet. The kosher diet was given to us not to make our life annoying and to limit us. And now I have to count 6 hours between the meat and the dairy, and I can't eat this and I can't eat that. Most people look at it as it's coming to limit me and to annoy me and to make my life very hard. And this is the fleischig spoon and the milchig spoon. And most people, they don't see the point in it. They rather get annoyed from all these strict rules. But the point is that anything that I consume into my body gets digested in my liver and becomes blood and goes into my nefesh. So the reason why we have, one of the many reasons, but the main reasons why we eat kosher is to make sure that our nefesh habehemit is getting the right sustenance. If you take now a car and you put, instead of fuel, you put milk or water, the car will drive a couple miles and that's it, the engine is broken. Can only run on a certain type of fuel. And then there's more cleaner fuel, unleaded fuel. Then there's difference of levels in the fuel. Then the more the fuel is clean, the better the car runs. So whatever I put in my body is what I'm making my body run on. So here I have 2 issues. I have the kosher diet, which is extremely important, because anything that I put in my body that is not kosher, right away what it will do, it becomes part of my body, becomes in my blood, my blood reaches my brain, my intellect, and like I said before, that the Arizal says, metamtem metasechel. Metamtem means timtum. Timtum is unbalanced, not metumtam. Excuse me? Directly affects the nefesh habehemit. Directly. When you eat unkosher food, it empowers your nefesh habehemit to levels that you can't control. All the te'avot, all these desires people have for all the forbidden things, they come because the nefesh habehemit was fed. So when a person grows not religious, or chas v'shalom religious, but still eats not kosher, the more it's unkosher, the more it's metameh et hanefesh. So when a person eats pork and shrimps and all these animals that make my nefesh impure, the midot, the attributes of the nefesh habemit are going to be out of control. The desire, the te'ava, is going to be out of control. The more a person, if you see it by nature, the more a person becomes holy, you see it mainly in Baalei Tshuva. Their entire diet changes. When I was not religious, all day long I would eat meat. Constantly I had the te'ava for food. More meat, more ice creams and treats, and no Kabbalah, no gvulot, no restrictions. The more a person becomes religious, the diet even becomes more refined. You don't have the te'ava to constantly eat meat and all these things. Our diet directly affects our nefesh habemit. Everything that we do affects our nefesh habemit. What I look at will affect my nefesh habemit. What I listen to. That's why, a lot of people don't understand the relations, but it's very unhealthy for my nefesh to listen to secular music. And a lot of people say, okay, it's just music, what's the big deal? Yeah, you're right, it's not a big deal. But it directly goes into your nefesh habemit. And if it's coming from an unholy source, it will metameh, will make the nefesh impure. Then you're dealing with a lot of te'avot, inclinations, very strong yetzer hara. People blame it, my yetzer hara is strong. Yeah, your yetzer hara is strong because you fed it. So all the te'avot that we have are coming from the nefesh habemit that I feed it like an animal. The more I feed it, the more it wants. If I feed it healthy, it will start coming down. I feed it not healthy, it will go out of control. Healthy, I mean in this respect, kosher. Because there also is a very important part, how healthy is my food. That's another issue. But now we're concentrating on the kosher. When I eat kosher, the food itself, what does it mean kosher? It means pure. Tahor. The opposite of tameh, the opposite of impure. So when I put something impure in my body will become impure. What's my body? In this analogy, is my nefesh habemit. So you see that if a person has a lot of te'avot, a lot of desires and these inclinations for forbidden things, it's only coming from the ratzon, from the desire of his nefesh habemit, that he fed himself. So when I want to start controlling it, then I have to first see what I'm feeding my nefesh. Now to backtrack 2 steps, why do I even want to care about this? Why should one care about everything that I'm talking about right now? Because if I don't care about it, going back to what I said before, my life is going to be chaos. Because my mind is constantly going to be not balanced. I'm constantly going to have a war in my mind. I'm never going to be eased. I'm all the time going to have issues with myself, which will manifest into everything around me. So the reality is that most people, their life is chaos. Chaos, I mean that there's always going to be 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 people in their life that they're not getting along with, which will cause chaos in their life. It can be a relationship with a husband, with a child, with a parent. More than that, their mind is not focused. So everything that they do is not focused. Ultimately, what we all are looking for, every human being is looking for one thing. It's called happiness. Everybody wants to be happy. This is called ta'anug, pleasure. This is how we built. We built in with this component that I want to be happy. So Hashem built us in a way that we're constantly looking to be happy and content and that everything is nice and good. So we're constantly looking, how am I going to make myself happy? So we do a big mistake that we think that certain things are going to make me happy. But they don't, because it's not the Ratzon Elyon. I need to find out what's the Ratzon, the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's the real thing that's going to make me happy. So ultimately all this that I'm telling you is why one should bother with it, because I want to be happy. I want to have a smooth life. I want my life to be calm and good with no issues. Because life in itself is going to throw all day long issues at you. So why should I have more issues into my life? So when a person is searching how to get this happiness, it's not by the physical things and how nice his clothes are and how nice the car is. Rather is the neshama has to be happy. And in order for my soul to be happy, then I have to do exactly what the soul wants, not what my body wants. My body will constantly pull one way, the neshama is going to pull a different way. So if a person says, oh, my life is perfect, everything's fine, then he doesn't need to apply it. But I don't believe that anyone can really say, oh, I'm 100%, everything's good in my life. So the point is that we want to learn how to bring it to me, this happiness. And this happiness comes when I work on my midot. So the first and most important thing is my diet. Because I'm totally operating on the level of nefesh. I'm not operating on the level of neshama. Very few people in this world can operate in the level of neshama, meaning that their thoughts are 100% pure. Their speech is 100% pure. Not lying, no cheating, no lashon hara, no gossiping, no nothing. Their emotions, everything is 100% pure. This is operating in a level of the neshama. This is what's called a tzaddik. Very few people can operate that. We're operating in a very low level of the nefesh. And all the bad things that I'm going through, it originates in the nefesh. So the first thing I want to concentrate on is my diet. And when the Torah instructed me, don't eat these animals and eat these animals, there's a reason for that. One of the few reasons is because, like I said before, everything in this world has a nefesh. A nefesh is a godly energy. And certain animals, the godly energy, the nitzotz eloki, the godly spark that's in that animal, if I will consume it, will make a short circuit with the godly spark that's in me. That's it. So when the Torah tells me don't eat pork, or don't eat a camel, it means that the godly spark that's in that animal will damage me. Will make a short circuit when it meets my spark. And these particular animals that I'm allowed to eat, they're good for me. There's a godly spark in it that by me consuming it, I can actually extract the godly spark and elevate it into holiness. So one, first of all, needs to be extremely particular with kosher. And the more you are refined with kosher, the more sharp your brain will get. When people come and tell me a very simple thing, I'm going on a date, how can I know that's the right person? He's nice, he's cute, we get along, but how do I know he's the right one? And it's not only with dates. This is one of the many examples questions that I get a lot is dafta with a date, because how can I know that's the right one? Maybe it's not. Maybe we just get along real good. So it can be a date. It can be also where to live. Should I live here? Should I live here? Should I learn this or should I learn that? When I'm not sure, is only because my mind is not sharp and not focused. The more my mind is focused, the more things are obvious, clear. So one of the things that affects this clear mind is kosher food. And the more I'm strict with that, the more sharp my mind will get. The more sharp my mind will get, the more I'm focused. My mind is not distracting me. I don't have timtum sechel. And the more you're strict with things, when I'm saying more particular and being strict, is a lot of people say, I don't really have to keep 6 hours between the meat and the dairy. 5 hours and 23 minutes, who cares? Another minute, last minute. Yeah, that minute counts. If Chazal will want you to eat after 5 hours and 23 minutes, they will tell you 5 hours and 23 minutes. If Chazal says 6 hours, it's 6 hours, and not 5 hours and 59 minutes. Okay, I'm not going now into the halacha. I give one type of an example. Because there's a lot of the thing is like this.
What if you do keep kosher and everything, and people are still confused?
Well, the kosher is the basics.
Okay.
Then you start growing one step after the other. The thing is that I can tell you already that in kosher there are many different levels. Exactly, you just mentioned there's opinions, and the thing is like this. You can go by what the halakha say, and in halakha there's contradictions. 3 hours, 6 hours, 1 hour. But when one wants to reach to a much higher level, that he goes already beyond the letter of the halakha, and you go what the mysticism of the Torah teaches you. So I know a lot of people, they don't even consider what Kabbalah explains about certain things. That's not even in their path. But if you merge the teaching of Kabbalah and mysticism with what halakha says, you'll see that Kabbalah teaching is much more strict in many different things. Why? Because the teachings of the mysticism of the Torah will actually come and teach you how to work on yourself in a much higher level. Because the halakha says, okay, we'll give you the minimum of what you need to do. But when I want to go beyond the letter of the law, I have to go beyond what the halakha tells me in certain things. But dafka, particular with kosher, not with other things. With kosher, yes, halakha will permit you to do certain things. But will come the teachings of the Kabbalah and will tell you, no, it's not good for your nefesh. So many people will find a loophole in halakha to eat milk, to drink milk or consume dairy products that is not Chalav Israel. So there are the permissions, there are the loopholes in the Torah, why and how to eat what's called Chalav Nochri. But the Exile was extremely strict not to touch it even. And all the great Rabbeim that go in the lineage of Hasidut, based on Kabbalah, will not even dare to touch Chalav Israel. To touch something that is not Chalav Israel. Why? Because the Arizal says it will metamtem et hasechel, it will affect the neshama. It's something spiritual here already. So one person will say, okay, I'm not holding in such a high level. I'm enough with this. Okay, nothing's wrong with it. But if a person is very particular and we're refining himself, then he goes the extra mile and he starts looking for all the fine prints and refining every little thing. This is like cutting a salad with a regular knife that barely cuts the tomato, or you take a real sharp knife and you easily cut the salad. And you want to cut it even better, you sharpen your knife even better, because it will be more precise, more accurate, more easy to do. Try to cut a tomato with a butter knife. It doesn't work. Smashes the tomato. So there's always levels in Avodat Hashem. I don't like looking for shortcuts and the minimum. Every time that we eat and we wash for bread, then sometimes I see my kids, after 2 minutes they get up. And I'll ask the younger ones, did you say Birkat Hamazon? Yeah, of course. So how did you finish in a minute? Oh, I said the short version. My kids go to bed, they prepare, same thing. I tell my kids, you said Kriyat Shema so fast? No, I said the short version today. Short versions don't work well. Short versions are a loophole. So in everything you can find the short version. I don't like the approach of the short version or the what's called the discounts in halakha. Because ultimately I want to hold myself in a much higher level. If I want to hold myself in a low level, then I'll give myself all the discounts. But I don't want to hold myself in a lower level. Not because I don't want to be fanatic. Because it affects me. So if I'm not so strict with kosher, it will affect me in a way that later on, my ta'ava, my desire, my inclination is going to be much stronger. It's not going to be so much under control. My thoughts are not going to be so pure. My emotions, my midot are going to be much more harder to control. So I want to segregate myself with the things that make my camp impure. So the first and most important is kosher. And the more machmir you are in kosher, the more you are refining your nefesh habehemit.
Is meat really worse for our soul than dairy?
If it's more worse, yeah. I'll tell you the problem with meat. There's two problems with meat that is affecting our nefesh. A is the fact if it's kosher or not. And believe it or not, a lot of the meat that you pull out of the shelf in a supermarket might not be kosher. It can have 5 stamps on it. There's a lot of issues with kosher, especially in Israel, but also in anywhere in the world. Yeah, it has a hechsher on it. It has a stamp. It doesn't mean how kosher it is. And there's a lot of issues going on now. They're finding all sorts of problems at the meat. There's all sorts of problems with the meat. I'll give you one example out of many. You're going to these big factories where they slaughter the chickens. Each shochet has to do, 500 a day, 800 a day. You need 500,000 chickens now. Tomorrow's Yom HaAtzmaut. You know how many chickens are going to be on the mangal, on the barbecue? Hundreds of thousands. How do you slaughter hundreds of thousands of chickens? So the right way to slaughter a chicken, you have to clean the knife, you have to check it, see if there's no blemishes, it has to be totally clean, and you have to slaughter the chicken, then you wash the knife again, you have to check it again. Now if you like a machine, maybe you're doing the shchita, but could very much be that after the 50th, 60th, 80th chicken, the knife is pagum, has a little bit of a bump. It makes all these chickens not so kosher. Not so kosher. Not kosher.
So what do? You don't need.
First of all, that's the second answer. This meat is not so good for us. We're not animals. If you're looking at how we originally were created vegetarians. When Adam and Chava were created, Hashem told them, "Mechol asher ha'etz v'gan asher mimenu tochelu." You only eat from the trees. Till Noach, the human beings were vegetarians. When Mashiach is going to come, at some point we're going to go back to that. We're not going to eat meat anymore. At some point we're going to stop.
My husband always says he can't wait to feast on the steak and basement.
You wish. I'm gonna just see how it's shechted on the snake.
The thing is that first of all, you mentioned korbanot. The ones who eat the korbanot are mainly the kohanim.
Yeah, but korban has to be eaten.
There's many things that are going to be cancelled when Mashiach is going to come.
So why aren't we all just vegetarians?
A lot of people do it. The thing is like this, forget about all this about vegetarians and the time of Mashiach. Now it's not so healthy to consume a lot of meat. Physically and health-wise, it's not healthy to consume too much meat. Once a week on Shabbat you eat meat. That's in the health department. But in the kosher department, even the meat in our generation, there's a lot of sfekot, a lot of doubts in it.
So what do you do?
What we do is we go a couple families together and we buy the animals from an organic farm where we know where they raise them. Excuse me?
That's what we do?
Yeah. We know how they were raised. They weren't raised in a cage and they're not eating GMO because all the animals that they're feeding them in all these industrial places, they're feeding the animals GMO. GMO is not even real food. It's some chemicals that they put together. Genetically modified food. And they're all, excuse me?
You got a cucumber.
Yeah, but now we're concentrating on the meat. If you see how they grow the meat and they're injecting them with hormones so they'll be fat and look good. Now they're sitting in their poop, in their cages, so they get a lot of diseases, so they're injected with antibiotics all the time, so you're consuming it. So yeah, we go and buy an animal from a farm that was raised organically and that it was eaten real food. And then we hire a shochet to go and do the shchita, custom made for us. So yeah, so you pay double for the meat, but you know that the meat that you're eating.
Only double?
Excuse me? Probably more.
Yeah, probably more.
But so.
You don't trust any other hechsher.
Excuse me?
You don't trust any other hechsher.
In most cases, no. Because the thing is, even in restaurants, you go into the restaurant, it will say like this, a big sticker, badatz. The guy who's cooking the shawarma, he was in is he religious? Go to most of the stores in most places. The cook, the guy he's not religious. Now, not that I have anything against him, he's a good person. But does he know the laws of kosher? Does he really care what's going on? He doesn't. So, when the owner pays the certification, if he's running out of meat, he'll go to somewhere and buy the meat. He doesn't really care. But that's Bet Yosef, it's Landa. So how can you really trust Bemet? Excuse me?
That's about mashgichim.
If a restaurant has a mashgiach, that's already the entrance why I would even think of going into a restaurant. No.
If it's mahajim, no.
Doesn't matter. I'll give you an example. Forget about meat.
You wouldn't walk in?
If there's no mashgiach, no.
Oh, there's no mashgiach.
If there's a mashgiach, that's already nice, welcoming for me to come in. I'll give you one short example because I don't want to sidetrack too much. But we went not too long ago. My in-laws live in a certain city in America. We went to visit them, and my mother-in-law said, well, the house is not kosher, let's take you to a restaurant. Of course, is the restaurant kosher? Yeah, of course it's kosher. We get to the restaurant, you see big signs, kosher, all the stickers, blinking signs, how kosher it is. We walk into the restaurant, I look around. So out of curiosity, I walk into the kitchen. So I see a Spanish guy, very nice guy, and I tell him, where's the mashgiach? What? Told him, where's the mashgiach? He's like, I'm sorry, I don't understand even what you're saying. I told him the rabbi. He's like, there's no rabbi here. So I told him, so who's in the kitchen? He's like, me and Joselito. I told him, okay, so who's supervising? What's going on here? He's like, well, we're here. So I told him, so why is it making your kitchen kosher? No, everything's kosher. Look, here everything has the stamp. So I told him, so who starts the fire? Who starts the ovens? Me. So I said, okay, so now already the whole restaurant is not kosher. I told him, when you're cutting the salad, you checking the lettuce? You checking for bugs? No, we wash it very good, but do you check? No. I want to order now an omelet. Do you check my egg, that there's no blood in it? He's looking at me like as if I fell from heaven.
That's
So,
why that wasn't
excuse me?
to that issue.
Was it not
Doesn't matter. That's not the point. It had a lot of stickers. The point is, even the badats, even the mehadrin, it doesn't matter. When in something like this restaurant is completely disqualified. The only thing that I would eat from it is something packaged that is closed, that I can see the hechsher and I can open the package by myself. But anything else, in my respect, is completely not kosher. Anything that he cooks and I started the oven, is not kosher. It's bishul akum. Can eat it.
Why would the factory develop that if you're buying in a closed factory?
Okay, that's also an issue. That's also an issue. But the thing is that's why, even with closed products, a lot of closed products, I will not count on it. There are very few hechsherim that I will know that, for example, the hechsher okay. Any factory that has the hechsher of okay, I know the mashgiach is in the factory. Is in the factory. Okay is a very strict hashgacha. Even they have a mashgiach in the factory. Now, I'm not talking about restaurants now. The hashgacha of okay in restaurants. I have a friend who has a restaurant in Manhattan. He doesn't have keys to the restaurant. The mashgiach has keys to the restaurant. He's the owner of the restaurant. He doesn't have keys. So anyways, I don't want to do a shiur about hechsherim, but the point is that even in our generation, there's a lot of problems with kosher, especially meat. That's why what's called a baal nefesh, somebody he's scared about his nefesh, does not just eat whatever moves around. A stamp doesn't mean much. And with dafka with meat, so you pay a little bit more money and you get good food. So when you come to us for Shabbat, just know that you're getting very good chicken. So we don't all day long eat steaks, and once a blue moon, so for Pesach and Yom Tov, we indulge on meat. But meat is not good. A, the kosher department, and B, the health-wise, it's not good. You know how much strain it puts on your liver to digest meat? And the problem is that we eat meat with te'ava, with a lot of lust. I don't know if lust is the right word, but a lot of this desire to eat it. And the system between our stomach and our brain, there's a delay. So your stomach is already full, but till you get the notice to your brain that you're full, that's already after the fact. So we stuff ourselves with food. And the damage that it does to our digesting system is irreversible. Rambam said that it's better to eat a little bit of bad food than a lot of good food. The quantities that we eat, they affect the entire digesting system. So eating meat is not so healthy to start with. Anything that I will consume in my body will become part of my body and will affect my blood, which is my nefesh habehemit, which by default will affect everything in my emotions, in my midot, and everything. That's why I started that the first level of Tikun Hamidot is my kosher diet. And it starts with kosher, and then it goes to the health diet. It might seem very not spiritual, but 90% of what we consume in this world is not really food. Any supermarket that you're going to go to, almost any product you pull out of the shelf, 90% of it is not real food. It's chemicals, food coloring, all sorts of supplements, MSG, GMO, all these things, half of what you eat, full of sugar. All these things are poison to your body. And people don't really take it serious, but 50% of the problem of our generation with depressions, anxieties, ADD, all these symptoms are from food. Because if you really look at the food, I see people all day long drinking Coca-Cola. Oh, this is Poison. Poison, poison. There's nothing good in Coca-Cola. I'm killing all your. Excuse me?
We know it's poisonous.
What? I can't hear you.
It makes you feel good.
It's poison.
Sometimes you need it.
You don't need it. That's where you think you need it. Coca-Cola is 100% poison. There's nothing good in it. The amount of sugar that is Coca-Cola is not normal. It's exaggerated. You know, if you really see what's the ingredients in Coke, you'll never want to touch it. The damage that it does to the body and to the brain, the Diet Coke is even 10 times worse. It has all the sweeteners in there. People drink. So there's so many things, you know. It doesn't have to be with food and vegetables, but you don't, instead of drinking Coca-Cola, then drink the orange juice.
No, that's also for whatever.
No, you have a lot.
Vegetables are natural.
You ate by our house. Everything that you eat, even the desserts, are healthy. There's no sugar in there. There's no white flour in there.
Why there was sugar in my flour? Ask me why.
No, she put it.
Why? And the lemon thing.
We don't use, my wife, and if they use sugar, it's only organic brown sugar, the real sugar. No, you don't. Sugar is the worst thing for your body. Sugar is the worst thing for your body. There's nothing healthy in sugar.
Kids constantly really want.
No, they don't.
Really? Don't get married and then
No, that's what you think.
Why they don't? But, you know,
The thing is that the more you feed your body with these things, the more it wants it.
But they don't want sugary things.
No.
I don't like sugary things.
I also don't
You
like
need a little.
sugar. They realize that it's good.
The thing is, my wife is the health department, but the point is,
The purple thing is salt.
yeah, see that purple thing, this is 100% of my kids crave that thing. The point is, listen, I don't want to sidetrack too much. You want the health, go talk to my wife. The point is that the food that we consume is poison and it's affecting us, and half, if not 80% of the problems of the people in the world in this generation is nutrition. One will make a shiur once on nutrition, how bad it is for you. Coca-Cola and sugar and white flour and all these things is the number one killer. It messes up your brain. The entire balance of your brain gets messed up. Forget about spiritual right now. You can be can be a non-Jew. It doesn't matter. It affects the brain exactly. Half of our emotions are side effects from the food that we consume.
It causes like chemical imbalances.
Yeah.
Of course.
Everything. There's a lot what to eat. Don't worry about it. Excuse me?
The vegetables that you buy.
Yeah. There's a lot what to eat. Again, I don't want to make a shiur about nutrition, but the point is, so we can move on, the nutrition is a very powerful factor in our sanity and our health. Now, a lot of people think that nutrition is health. Yeah, it is health. But also my mental health comes from my nutrition. People say I have problems with sleeping. I have problems with waking up. I have problems with nightmares. I'm waking up all the time in the middle of the night. I have pain here. I have pain here. I have pain here. 50% of it, I can't even know exactly if to say 50. I think it's even 80% is nutrition. It's what we eat. It's what we consume. You know how the Americans say, you are what you eat. Now, if you're constantly eating junk, then your entire system is not balanced. And what you're doing in the spiritual level, you're feeding your nefesh habehemit, your animal soul, and now your animal soul wants it. You're empowering the animal within your soul. So your entire behavior is more behemit, more animal. So you want more things that are physical. And your desire is for physical things. So you look at the people that are more segregated from the rest of the people in regards to their level of holiness. They barely eat, they for sure don't eat Coca-Cola and junk, but their diet is refined. They drink water. Excuse me?
Very small portion.
Yeah, exactly.
When you see like on these like rabbinic pictures, like always like tissues and whatever, they always have like fizzy drinks and cakes and...
I don't think if you really go to the actual tish, you see that the Rebbe doesn't drink anything. It's all around them.
So why
It's-
did you poison everyone?
This is, for the respect and to make the table beautiful. But all the tishes that I went to all these big Rabbeim, they don't touch anything. They touch something for the bracha, that's it.
That's like the
First of all, regardless to your question, the level of a tzaddik is a completely different level, and if a tzaddik already consumes something, he has the ability to elevate it. For example, many poskim say that smoking is against halakha. Many poskim, they say that if you smoke, that's mamash against halakha. But when you're looking at it, the Baba Sali used to smoke. The Baba Sali used to smoke.
But then they didn't know it was dangerous.
Trust me, the Baba Sali doesn't need doctors to tell him if cigarettes is smoking is bad or not. The Baba Sali himself said that with the smoke, he's able to capture shedim. He said it himself, that he's able with the smoke of the cigarettes to actually have possession over demons. But the level of the Baba Sali, we are not even close to even to his fingernails. So when the Baba Sali smokes, he knows what he's doing. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe also used to smoke when he was young. When he was young. So a tzaddik has nothing to do with us. So if a tzaddik eats from the tish, he knows what he's doing. We are not even close to the level of a tzaddik.
But that's going against smoking.
Doing what?
Smoking.
That's why I said some poskim. Besides, a tzaddik is a completely different thing. I've seen tzaddikim that are doing things that are beyond the letter of the halakha. Because a tzaddik is a completely different level, he knows what he's doing.
I learned that the Yetzer comes inside our body through meat, through the eating of meat.
Yeah?
Is that true?
Yeah, if that's what I told her. If the meat is not kosher and it's not slaughtered the right way, it comes through meat. Why? Because when you're consuming, the thing is that we share something in common with animals. It's the nefesh habehemit. Vegetables don't have it and animals don't have it. But animals have a nefesh habehemit. When I'm consuming the animal, the ritual of the kosher is to remove as much as possible, and if not at all, the nefesh habehemit from the animal. That's why I have to salt the meat to get the blood out. Now, if the meat is not 100% kosher, and even the process of what's called the melicha, the salting, is not 100%, and there's a 1% left in it, then there's a nefesh habehemit in that piece of meat. Then I consume it.
Okay.
Then I start behaving like an animal. So you see people that they behave like animals. Now their midot are animalistic. Animal, like look at a lion. A lion is fire. Now we don't eat lions, but we get the character trait of an animal. You see a lot of animals, they're lazy. Each animal has a character. That's why meat is not so good to consume. And you know when you consume meat? Shabbat. Because Shabbat already there's no klipa in the food. The food in Shabbat is holy. Just the fact that it was prepared for Shabbat, it has kedusha in it. There's no avodat berurim. There's no sifting on Shabbat. So there's nothing impure in it. So you consume the meat on Shabbat. You want to eat meat? So eat it. Dafka on Shabbat. During the week, there's no point of eating meat. Don't eat it. So the basics of the first things that one wants to do is in order to purify his own camp is the nutrition and the kosher diet. And the more strict you are with it, don't look right now just at the halakha. Look beyond the letter of the halakha. Because it's almost like going to a doctor and with a certain symptom. And the doctor says, listen, if you just do this and this, it will help. But you say, I don't want it just to maybe help. I want it to kill the symptom. So the doctor will tell you, okay, so you have to do this, this, and this. Same thing with halakha. The halakha tells you, okay, you can do this and this. But if you want to kill a certain symptom, then you go beyond the letter of the halakha. You go beyond what the halakha will permit you, because the halakha will give you, what's called gdarim, certain boundaries. So the first and most important, when I want to start working on myself, is to see what's going in me. What goes in me becomes part of me. So the lowest level is my food. Then will come what I'm watching and what I'm hearing. This is the first thing, because in order for me to start refining myself, first I have to segregate. I have to start blocking anything from coming in. This is what's called to purifying my camp. Letaher et hamachaneh. That my camp is pure now. So what I'm looking at is getting registered in my subconscious. They made once a test in hypnotism, and they let this man walk in the street for a couple of hours, and then they hypnotized him, and they got information from every billboard that was on the street, hundreds of details in each billboard, that when he was in a conscious state, he don't remember anything. And when he was unconscious, in the state of unconsciousness, they pulled out from each billboard hundreds of details, colors and shapes and everything in details. So we don't even notice how much we are registering with what's going on around us. Constantly. So, when our sages, when our rabbis tell us it's not good to go on the internet, because you might be focused on one thing, but you're not noticing what's going on around you. So you go on Facebook. So you concentrating on the middle, or the excuse that I get, no, I'm watching a Torah class. Yeah, but in the meantime, all the details around, all these flashing things, they get registered in your subconscious. This is the concept of what's called Shmirat HaEinayim. Shmirat HaEinayim is not to look at the wrong place. Because when it's also for women, it's Shmirat HaEinayim. It's not only for men. It says it's equal for both. For men, certain things affect them more. But women also has the concept of Shmirat HaEinayim, of looking at the right place. Lo taturu achei levavchem v'achei einechem. After your eyes. Because what I'm looking at, I register, it goes into my database. 2-3% stays in my conscious, in my muda, and the rest goes into my tat muda, to my subconscious. And that's what's going to start the mess, the zoo that I told you in my mind. That's all these thoughts. I have to remove these thoughts from my mind. So everything that I look at has to be holy. It's even things like little things that most people think I'm crazy. It's even looking at the newspapers. Because all the newspapers around, they have all the ads. And everything that you look at.
Except Hamodia.
Whatever. That's why there's kosher websites. There's kosher newspapers.
Yeah.
But everything that I'm looking around me, I register, sending with hearing. If I constantly hear pure things, and I listen to Torah, and when I cook, I have a Torah class running in the background, instead of some song, the music that I'm hearing, it's little things. We made a test with teenagers in some school that I was working at a couple of years ago, and it was a religious school, but it was very modern religious school. And we took a group of girls that were willing to take the test, and they did not listen to secular music for a whole month, and they did not look at anything secular, no TV shows, anything. And the result was unbelievable. The change in everything, in their behavior, in their emotions, in their level of belief, in their desire to do good, mitzvahs, all these things, was 10 times more powerful just by not listening to secular music and to watching certain shows that seemed very okay. It was tznius, there was nothing violent, but they were willing to take the test. The result was unbelievable. So the thing is that the more refine what I'm trying to segregate myself from, the more it will affect me in a refined way. So going back again, the meat. The more refined my food is, the more refined I become. The more refined the music that I'm listening to, what I'm looking at, where I am. That's why, a person who's religious, better for him to live in a religious community and not to live in a very not religious community. Because it's very easy to get affected by my surrounding. So all these chushim, these senses, the more that I segregate myself from things that are not pure, the more that my inside will become pure. In a few weeks we're going to read the parasha that is called Shoftim v'Shotrim. Shoftim, judges. And it's talking about that you have to appoint on your gates judges and policemen. The gates that it's talking about is the gates to our body. We have 7 gates to our body. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and a mouth. These are my gates. Anything that comes through these gates, if it's pure, then my entire camp is pure. If it's impure, then I'm starting to put impurity in me. The result will be impure thoughts, impure speech, impure behavior, which will result in impure character traits, impure midot, and so forth and so forth. And then I find myself constantly, all day long, with a Yetzer Hara this big. And I blame it on everything else, but the fact that I'm not guarding my own camp. And the end result is this state of confusion and depression and unbalance, etc., 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 resulting in the bottom line that my life now is chaos. Now, I might be a normal person and life is running kind of smooth, but if you really focus on your life, you take these 5 minutes a day that I told you, that you shut down everything and you look, you observe what's going on in your mind, you'll see that you're like a nutcase. What's going on in the mind, and you need to calm it down. So it's a layer over a layer over a layer over a layer. If you start peeling the layers, you start seeing that everything around you, first you have to purify everything that is around you. So the first and most lowest level of avodah that one needs to do in order to start refining himself is all the external things. The external things that come into my body. So the first and most important one needs to practice is the kosher diet, and then the health diet. And the more strict you are, there's reasons for that. And don't look for the discounts what halakha gives you. Rather look at where the halakha is actually being more strict, and then go to the mystical side of it, what Kabbalah teaches about it, so you can know, okay, if I'm not consuming this, this, and this, it will affect me. Last year when we lived in Los Angeles, we moved, so we put our little boy into a kindergarten. And we weren't we weren't settling there, and we weren't close to the exact place where we wanted to be, so we had to settle with the kindergarten when he had to go. And he, by nature, is like this angel. It's like you look at his face. He's like this pure, pure face. And he was always relaxed and calm. And then he started coming back from this kindergarten. Suddenly he started becoming a little bit aggressive. So we said, okay, he's a little boy. Little boys can be a little bit aggressive. Then he started being violent. Then he started being very chutzpan, very fresh. And he started getting all these weird behaviors that first we blamed it, okay, he's young. Then we blame it's a new environment. He didn't get used to the kindergarten. And we tried to blame it on everything. But after 2-3 weeks that he was not himself, so we were like, okay, maybe something's going on in the kindergarten. And we went to the kindergarten, and my wife asked the ganenet, the teacher, do you give him anything? Well, he gets what everybody gets. And my wife is like, what is everybody getting? So, if they're good, they get a candy. If there's a Shabbos party, they get chocolate. Long story short, we found out that the treats that they're giving them were not Chalav Israel. And my wife told the teacher, we're very strict with Chalav Israel. Please do not give him anything that is not Chalav Israel. You want, we'll give you the candies, and you give him the candy to give. Excuse me? So, and the second that we got him off, the second that they stopped giving him the whatever Chalav Israel candy that they gave him, the chocolate, within a week, back to being how he was. Right away we saw the behavior, how it's affecting him. Now the thing is that when you don't analyze that, you're saying, okay, he's a little kid. The other day, a lady that I'm counseling, the excuse she gave me, he's a boy. Boy needs to be wild. I said, no. Boys don't need to be wild. The fact that they're jumping on ladders or climbing on trees Okay, that's because he's a boy, but a boy is not supposed to be wild. So the thing is that we see a certain symptom and we blame it on something that's not the reality is. And then we're willing to accept it. So this is one example with a little boy, but also with us. So a person can be anxious and blame it. No, I have a lot of pressure from work. No, that shouldn't make you anxious. No, I have a lot of things to do. I have a wedding to plan. That shouldn't make you anxious. Something inside of you is not relaxed. Something inside of you is not balanced, so it makes you very anxious. It's not a healthy and normal way of living. So the thing is that everything that we consume starts affecting us. And what does it affect? It affects my emotions. Then it controls completely imbalance in my emotions. So B'ezrat Hashem, what we're going to do next year, we're going to start going about certain midot that we're going to talk about. There's so many different midot, I don't know if we can cover even all the midot, but you'll get the idea. One midah that everybody needs to work on is midah, what's called kaas, anger. That people like this get angry for no reason, and then they feed it and it becomes more anger and more anger. And the toladah, what it brings out of it, is hate and animosity and lashon hara and all these bad things. There's the midah of laziness, which is extremely, extremely bad because it pulls us down and it makes us not function the right way. There's the midah of jealousy, which is extremely, extremely bad. In many cases, jealousy is also a mamash avera, it's a sin. So we're going to try to go through the main midot that actually affect our life, and we'll end with some of the positive midot that are also extremely important to pull them out from our system. That when I empower my positive midot, then I'm functioning on a completely different level. But the basics of the avodah, of the work that I want to do by start refining my midot, is first of all what I'm consuming. Starting to be much more strict with kosher, much more strict with what my eyes see, much more strict with what my ears listen to, and everything that's around is where I'm positioning myself. One big problem in our generation, you might not relate to that, but one big problem in our generation is what kids look on TV. Parents, they don't have patience, they don't have time or whatever, they put the kid in front of a screen. Here, shut up for 2 hours. And what's going on in the screen, that's the ultimate junk. So everything that your eyes and your ears see, and even in a very refined way, I said that we have 7 gates. So eyes are obvious, what we see. Ears, what we listen. Mouth, what we eat. But nose, like what do? Here and there I smell something. Dafka, the sense, the chush of smelling is the most sensitive one. Now, we don't go around and smelling things that can affect us. But this is a sense that you can actually empower by smelling good things. There's a very, very beginning to it. We'll talk about it maybe in the last class when we want to empower our midot. But smelling is a very powerful sense. That's why we smell basamim on Motzei Shabbat. There's a reason for that. And Bechlal, there's a very deep teaching in Kabbalah that it's very good to smell good things every day. To take herbs, to say the bracha and to smell it, and to really inhale the smell. It arouses the power of emunah. People who have problems with belief and bitachon, the spiritual etzah for it is take something that smells real good, not perfume, something herb. And you say borei isbei besamim or whatever the right bracha for it, and you really inhale the smell of it. It arouses the emunah that is being hidden in the neshama.
Why not perfume?
Excuse me?
Why not something like perfume?
It also works, but you want something natural. Perfume can be completely made out of chemicals and all sorts of products that is not the real scent. But you take like a hadas or whatever, very rosemary, lavender, whatever, a very strong herb, the scent in it is unbelievably powerful. And we know that everything that I consume into my body, I have to say a bracha. This is what's called Birkat HaNe'enim. Everything that I consume has a first bracha and then it has a last bracha. I drink water, I say Shakol Niya Bidvaro, and when I'm done, I say Borei Nefashot Rabot. This is called Bracha Achona. But the only thing that I don't say Bracha Achona is when I smell something. I will say Borei Minei Besamim, Borei Izbei Besamim, whatever the bracha is applicable, but I don't say Bracha Achona. Because the Besamim is not tangible, it's spiritual, but there's no waste. Food is waste in my body, so I have to say Bracha Achona to remove the waste. But when smell, I don't. So it's in a very refined way. Even when I smell bad things, it's not good for my neshama. So yeah, that's why they in here we don't have it so much, but in America you can walk in the street next to a lot of restaurants, and the smell of the restaurant, it's like wow, ooh, smells so good. But the smell comes from from real not kosher food. It arouses the te'ava, this desire, this inclination in a person to do all sorts of forbidden things. One might don't see the connection. Go down a street in Manhattan and where you're smelling all this food in a very indirect way, it affects your neshama and it empowers your inclination, your desires to do forbidden things. Yeah. Anything that comes from holiness, that's why you mentioned before the tish, they always have something to smell on the table. They'll have nana or hadassim or something. You see many tzaddikim, they constantly smell good things. On Friday there's the inyan to smell constantly. On Yom Kippur you see that other people do it as minhag that they pass around. Excuse me?
What's snuff? Is that natural?
What they smelling from? I don't know what it's made out from, but it is natural. Chas v'shalom. So, Bezrat Hashem, next year we'll start to more dissect more each and every midah, and then we're going to more touch the point, what you're asking, how the relations between the kli and the or, the light and the vessel, and that it's all connected to each other. But I didn't know, I thought we'll have more time, but Bezrat Hashem, the next couple shurim will more focus about the relation in Avodat HaMidot, how I build a vessel, and what type of light I'm putting in the vessel. And sometimes I can pull down into the world a lot of light, and there's no vessel to hold it. Then chas v'shalom, the result can be what's called the destruction, the shvirat, the explosion of the light. The damage is even greater. Sometimes I build a vessel and there's too much light. The vessel can chas v'shalom get damaged. So we're going to talk about that too. Bezrat Hashem, if there's going to be any time after the couple shurim, we'll add all sorts of midot. And if there's anything that you can think of that is relating to you, that's nogea to you, and you want to dissect that too, we'll do that too, then let me know. You should have a beautiful week, beautiful weekend. We'll see you Bezrat Hashem on Monday.